I got the short screws, these 1.25 or 1.5 you could use also, and I went all around. Now notice I left these corners unattacked there. I left these corners alone. Again, you got 2 bore holes going through that 2x4, and they're prone to splitting on the ends already. You don't want to be weakening that support by tacking a whole bunch of screws on the very corner, okay? If this gets dilapidated and gets messed up through the years, sand it down, round the corner off, and glue it, or whatever you want to do, but don't be jamming screws down in the very corners because you got these support screws already there, okay? You'll just start splitting your wood up and making a big mess. But I left that corner alone because I got those screws going through the side there. And don't forget, we gotta make legs to lift this thing up, right? So, all right, next step, get some legs on this girl. Hey guys, I got all my legs cut to 28.25 because they're going to butt up against a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and that's going to give me a 29-inch table height. All right, I got all the holes countersunk for my screws, or not countersunk, but piloted. I got all my holes piloted for my screws. Let me show you. You don't want to put these on like this, guys. You don't want to have the table flexing this way, okay? It's longer that way than it is this way. This is the length, this is the width, so turn that way. And that'll keep that table from flexing too bad, okay? You want to make sure that leg's all the way up, inserted, and you want to make sure that it's all the way down, center of the corner, before you set your screws. You want to use a long screw because you're going through the full width of that 2x4. That's 2 tips I've gone through building this table. Whew, I bought a pack of 5 for $4, so you're going to need more than 1 tip to do this job, guys. They get rounded off. Guys, when you do the bottom section after you get your legs on, if you've got a really good section of flat floor with no fractures in it, see this floor is cracked and it's got seams in it? If you can get that whole base into a nice level floor, then what I like to do is just build the legs on the floor. You know, lay the table over, lay the runners up to it, and screw the runners up to it. Now why would I prefer to do that? Because none of these legs are going to be exact. They're going to be a couple millimeters off or even a 1/16 off in any direction on any one of those legs. And if you say you build those runners right now along that length, you could bow that bottom piece and you could accidentally build a rock into your floor. Now what you could do to prevent it is bow the center up and bow the ends out and get it to sit on the ends. You could do that, but it's hard to do that in 2 dimensions and do it in forward and backward and left and right. So long story short, geometrically it's easier to get a nice flat floor and a nice flat bottom if you build it on a nice flat floor and a nice flat bottom. So let me get it turned over. And you got to be careful tipping it. See, when I tip this over, it's going to put a lot of pressure on that leg, and it's going to want to rip those screws out I just put in. So you kind of need 2 people to lift it up and rotate it and set it down flat on the legs. You don't want to force it over on those legs like that. All right, let me get it flat and we'll start screwing up the base. Got those legs all on one section of the garage floor and away from the seams. And we can kick the splinters out like that, get it nice and level. It sits nice and flat like that. There's no rocking in it, okay? There's no, you know, it's settled nice and flat everywhere. So I like to just take these runners and just go like this. Get them straightened up on the ends like that, you know, get them even. Use a 2x4 to, you know, use one of these to get the depth right there, and then clamp it and screw it, and just go around right there on the floor. I got it all leveled out and all flat on a nice piece of flat concrete. Feels good. But I got one minor little challenge. On the last corner, it wants to bow a little bit. See that? So it's easy enough to fix, guys. You just take a strap, pull the stanchions in, pull the legs in, I mean. Okay. Now watch when you do this, guys. You don't get the strap under the wood on the floor. If you do that, you're going to raise one part of it, the thickness of the strap, and you're going to make a wobble or a warp, okay? So watch out for that. Keep it all above the floor. And then the other thing I got going on here, see that? So I got to push that in when I screw it. I mean, until I get it tight. Watch this. There we go. I got enough side pressure on there. It's holding it. So I should be able to just drive screws in there. We'll be good. Okay. I got my pilot holes done, so we're not going to split the wood. I'm going to keep this foot here and push pressure in so it doesn't pop out. Get that screw all the way in. Okay, there you go, guys. That's how you get the floor built. Now I got to go to the middle. Why did I leave the middle for last? I'll tell you why I left the middle for last. You ever have a table rock on the floor? It's because it's not level on the four corners. If I did that and there was any kind of imperfection in the way the wood was going to warp, it would create a wobble. See how good and stable this is? I got no wobbles. It's nice and flat. It's right on the floor because I built it on the floor, and it's a good level piece of floor where I'm not crossing any seams. See that seam in the floor? That's not level. When they created this floor, they did it in sections, so I'm building it all on one section, right? And even that's not perfect, but it's as close as I can get it for my purposes. But you don't want to do the middle first. You want to do the ends, and then you put the middle in, and that'll keep you from creating a situation where that center support is lower than one of these, which would create a wobble. So let's see how tightly our wood fits. See how good our ends are. Okay, they're pretty good. And I staggered them on one side. I put this board on that side and the other side I did on the other, so it'll sit like that. All right, so it's a little bit loose, see that? So what I'm going to do is use the strap the same way I did on the end, and I'm going to squeeze those center poles together till I get that board tensioned, and then I'm going to screw her down. How loose that board is, guys. See how loose it is? Okay, and the whole table sits flat on the floor with nothing under it. I got a nice level floor. Got a loose board. I'm just going to crank this in till it pulls these boards. I got each side screwed with 2 screws. Don't go hog wild on these because you could pull your screws out. All you're doing is just bringing it in to warp the wood enough to set this taut. That's it right there. I can't move that board by my hand anymore. So I'm just going to screw it right there. Be good to go. Run a couple pilot holes. Yeah, oh, good. Yeah, there you go. See that, guys? Now, if you wanted to get all fancy and super professional and put more support screws going in around there, I mean, you know, it's not necessary. I'm going to call that joint good, just like it is. All right, go around and do the other side from the other angle. It's still got tension on it, and we'll be good to go. I'm going to get this door opened up and get this bike loaded. See how I set that stand right there in the back, in the corner of that table. I can walk around it when I walk up the left side of the bike, but I can grab it when I get the bike up there because I don't have a front end horseshoe grabber or a vise or anything. If you guys wanted to bolt a vise grabber up there, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I don't want that for my road race table because I do a lot of road race bikes. They're not just street bikes. And because you're doing road race bikes, you're using lifts that are designed to get the forks off the bike. Yeah, these road racers are not real heavy. This one's less than 300 pounds. This one's only about 280. Like I said, a little less than 300. So this one's pretty easy to handle. That's not why I did it first. I did it first because I got to work on it first. Make sure you're on both sides before you apply lift pressure. Okay. So, see how easy that was. See how easy that was, guys, to do. What do you think, guys? You know, it's a little wide for road race use, you know, but it's going to serve my purposes. I'm going to get that ramp off of here and get to work. I got work to do on this bike. Might as well get started. What do you think, guys? I am so embarrassed I forgot this. It is a good thing I'm not a carpenter for a living. Don't forget to do this next step. You have to do this. See how the legs, I staggered them in the middle to keep the table from flexing this way, okay? To keep it from going, you know, the bottom staying stationary on the floor and the top flexing this way with all the weight of the bike and working. It feels stable, doesn't feel like it wants to. But through the years, you go throwing 700-pound street bikes up there, and you go, you know, climbing, you know, with me, I'm 220 pounds. I put my big tail end up there with a 300-pound bike, and you got 500 pounds jerking around doing stuff and moving. It's only a matter of time before this stuff loosens up. I mean, yeah, I use screws so you can go back and tighten it better than nails, but it's still not perfect. You don't need so much going this way. I mean, you don't need as much because it's a function of width and length. But what you really do need on a table of this shape with that much weight on it is you need a way to keep it from rocking this way. You have to do it. Now, one of the reasons I like this kind of workstation, it's not the only reason, there were others we discussed, but one reason is there's storage under there. Look at all that square footage of space. So when I throw a bike on that project bench, the parts for that bike can stay under that bench. And you can't do that with a lift that goes up and down. So that's another factor to consider. So what am I going to do to get that 4-aft rigidity without blocking off my storage space with scrap wood. You remember this strip? If I attach that right here, like that, you know, but up here, you know, I'd lift it. Well, does it matter if it's on the top or the bottom? Really doesn't much matter. It's probably better on the top. Then again, I'll be banging my knees in it more. Maybe I could just leave it on the bottom. I could just leave it on the bottom, guys. And run screws, you know, run screws through there. That'll keep that platform from going like this, you know. And then, yeah, you're limiting your access on one side, but you'd still have the rest of it open. And it's a nice, quick, easy way to use that piece that they cut off without doing a whole lot of extra work. So let's go ahead and get that screwed up and see what it looks like. Alright guys, that's it. I think she's done. We're going to start making a video on this teardown. Be safe. Whichever table you choose to use, whether you choose to buy a table that has a lift built into it, the safety features to consider are rolling a bike up onto a lift that's on the ground is a lot easier to secure it with stands and straps and all that, and then having the table lift it. If you're doing it by yourself, that is easier. If you don't have enough depth or space like I have in this garage, I still have to open the door to get the bike to the beginning of the ramp. But if I open the door, I can get the bike on a ramp and load this table. If you don't have that kind of room, that's another reason. Just buy a lift. Just roll it up on the lift, and that little bit of space is all you need to use that lift. But if you're, you know, plus if you want the front vise, you know, if you want one of those with the front vise, and you know you're not going to be ripping the front ends apart all the time, and you can use that kind of a setup, well, that's good too. You know, for my purposes, I think this wooden bench that I made for $100 and about, I don't know, 2 hours of time, probably took me 2 hours to do it. I think for $100 in 2 hours, it's better for me. If you wanted to drop anywhere from $350 to $1,000 and not spend any time on it, but what it takes to go pick it up at the terminal and take it to your house, well, fine, you know. But for my purposes, I think this is where I wanted to be. And when you watch me do these teardowns on these road race bikes, I'll probably forget to talk about it and won't point it out, but you'll see why. You'll see why I want a table this way. So I didn't want to use a table like that on my day job, but I do want to use it for what I'm doing here. Alright guys, be safe no matter what kind of table you build, no matter what kind of table you use. Have a friend. Try not to be alone when you're racking and unracking these bikes. And just take care of yourselves, guys. It's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt. I love you. Wear your helmets. I'll see you at the track.